to the columns with the help of the tide, pull the whole thing down with all Anglo-Saxon stone missiles and bows and arrows into the river. And that is the only bridge that never fell down. London Bridge is falling down. Now you all start singing, I knew it. On the left-hand side in the dry dock is the Hague. You see that? That's a little ship in the dry dock there. That's the Golden Hind. It is a replica of the one that Sir Francis Drake circumnavigated Earth aboard. Pickford's Wharf, again an old warehouse. Behind that though, it's some apartments built on the old Clink prison. You know how we still say somebody's going to Clink? Well, that's where that expression comes from. And as we go beneath this railway bridge, look on the left, and that is the anchor pub on the left-hand side, which William Shakespeare's actors used for their changing routes, because the famous Globe Theatre used to stand here. And this is Southwark Bridge. It's the least used bridge in London because it's so difficult to find the entrance to the bridge. We always say, if you ever see anyone on Southwark Bridge, they're bound to be lost. It's very worrying if you ever see a Globus bus on it. On the left-hand side, the tall chimney, there used to be Baxter Power Station, now they Tate Modern Art Gallery. But in front of it, the little white building with the flag and the thatched roof, that is the new Globe Theatre. Sam Wanamaker, the film director, this was his baby. It's a circular building. You see the little wooden benches with a stage in the middle, and the cheapest seats is standing room underneath the open sky, and when it rains you get rather wet. Now to link St Paul's Cathedral and the circumstance, it wobbled so badly they closed it after 3 days and spent £8 million and 2 years putting it right. And this will be ever known as the Wobbly Bridge. And the architect is Sir the River Thames. So when they built this modern school here, St Paul's School, the way they got around it, the middle section is made out of glass, and you can see the church through this school. That is definitely cheating, isn't it? Now in front of the Railway Bridge and Blackfriars Road Bridge, that took the name from a monastery that once stood on the right-hand side of Blackfriars Monastery. But it's the Hart Bridge that fascinates me. It was built originally by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, the greatest civil engineer during Queen Victoria's reign. It was called St Paul's, and the tracks were wider than the ones we now use. Silly. This is my favourite Hart Bridge. In about 2,000 years, people come to wonder what these. Now on the right-hand side, if you leave a house that curves rather elegantly, that shows an office block. The one with the green roof is the City of London School for Boys, where they used to be before the move on with the pretty stained glass windows. That's Sion College, where they used to study theology. They moved out. The president of the boat on the right-hand side belongs to Charitable Interaction, and they rent it out, and then the money goes to the charity for the trained people and different. Look, the waving is very important for boats. Bridges, boats, you know what I mean, and waving is very, very important. The trees on the right-hand side, that's over 3,500 years, and entering the city on Westminster. And the Wellington on the right-hand side is a floating livery hall. The master man of Jonathan Gormley, can you see him up there on the right? As well as on the left, he's everywhere, there's 30 on it. Exhibition at the Hayward Gallery on at the moment. Now the obelisk on your right is Cleopatra's Needle, which is over 3,500 years old. A gift from Muhammad Ali, not the boxer. He was in the ruler of Egypt who gave it to Queen Victoria to commemorate the Battle of the Nile, one of Nelson's greatest triumphs. On the right-hand side, it looks a bit like a jukebox, doesn't it? And it's just an office building built above. Now, they've created 2 little pedestrian bridges here to hide the ugly Charing Cross Railway Bridge. And there is Saxon Eye. It's got 32 pods that hold 25 people in each one. It takes 35 minutes to complete a circle, and it's powered by a rather large hamster. It looks like it's standing still, doesn't it? But it's just moving really, really slowly. It's like a ski lift. You can on and off while it's still moving. There's a little bench in the middle of the whole city. It's going to be as temporary as the Eiffel Tower, isn't it? So originally they had a 5-year lease. That's since been extended with a 25-year lease. So it's in for a few more years, isn't it? On the right-hand side, the Golden Eagle there is the Royal Air Force Memorial to the First and Second World War. And on it says, I bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. The House of Lords, all the seats are red. And the next bridge up is a red bridge, because that's nearest the House of Lords and that's Lamberley Bridge. The Parliament looks a lot older than it really is, because most of it burned down in 1834. They didn't want it to clash with Westminster Abbey, which is just being Osbury, and this became his lifetime work. And Pugan is the artist who created all the detail work you see here. Oh yes, very much so. Now, the green and white striped tent is where the members of the House of Commons drink. In a general election in this country, there are two kinds of people that are not allowed to vote. Nobody ever noticed the difference. Right next to it, there's a little church called St. Mary at Lambeth. And at the back of the church, there are round windows. It was originally founded by Florence Nightingale in 1860 when she came back from the Crimean War. Now just hold on. He's trying to get us right there so we can just hear the bolts. The buildings on the other side. In 1986 and sold the building for 11 million, were since converted into 2 hotels, an aquarium, Robert World and McDonald's. Purple and pink and turquoise. So at least in the evenings they look a little bit more qualified. Don't get back up again if you want to a little bit. You see the national bird is now turquoise and purple and pink, but it's stained glass windows. Very older building which has been cut. And the very tall building in front of you with kind of a down the other side. But the only ones who ever bothered with the suicide candidates, and they jumped off, so that was no fun. So the question.
It's nice enough. No, it's not That's what I said. That's okay.
gătnăvome ca svața morta ceari mod.
Svața morta Champs-Élysées Forostar. Hai să folosim cu din că felia nașterea. Na camera. Hai na cara que ele achou isso no cara. Sena gitana. Din asta leterna. Dişero. Eiffel. Sparkling.
Sparkling. हाँ.
ऐसी क्या होता है सिंचेरो?
शाम में senzato mai.
Sincero que era gramaços.
Mi dicevo di nei guanti.
Orası var sen.
Aşağıya
Falan aşağıya. Nakarmam yaratan biz nakarmam.
It is also like in technological and industrial museum, but it is also a superior science center. So very. The people who study here are really very top in sciences. And there was a little chapel on the side. You can see part of the church. It's part of the museum today. And you see the Romanesque part of the little church. And now we turn right and we will be passing very close to Pompidou Center. So just to go back for a few minutes to Notre Dame. So Our Lady, the Mother of Lord. So they should have restored it. But our last, when we walk now, we're going to stop very soon. We're going to walk across the street, across the river.
Arauția Jamaina, n-am citat la Mecca. Vreau să zic asta.
We're coming back here, so let's go together. Excuse me. departure point of all the kind of activity. And when we say that the city is at 7, and it says point zero. And then we'll just move a little bit so that the other cosmos can see it. But if you take a picture,
Paris'i kentrona. Point zero.
and you see in the middle the butterflies, people coming out of the middle. And then you try to think about the middle. And the devil is standing the bad people to hell on the right, and the good people to heaven as to left. The prophet Michael. And then the dead on the right. So these carvings were made on cloth, which is more or less the time when the windows. The windows is the white people voices. You have one example in French. But as you know, you have to be inside. Because you need to have the light from the outside. The wet about 250 feet, 400 two for one photograph and ladies flash. That's what I'm talking about.
Gidek. Nostradamus'la. Hani haydi Nostradamus'u ne karna ise ira şenkle, ira patrin karus ortaya.
What I want you to do first but this statue is inspired by the Pietà of Michelangelo. But it was made to the 13th century. And what you may not know is that the north and the south windows changed
Tasarı
three
kere ben
times
varım.
with the same line. Because they were there in the Catholic chapel. They decided to add this chapel, so they needed to lengthen this part. So they took away all the windows, numbered the pieces like a puzzle, lengthened the walls, except what the windows when they were engraved on the canvas, I break them. So they during the month of the year. Can you make a little space for the computer? During the month of the year when they were ready, they had the sign of the zodiac, so the cycle of the star. These little things were once in the middle. I got you on the other side now. But this side hasn't been cleaned. So they did that from here. Now they have to put it together. The government is for the historical monument. The church has to, if you go inside the shop, you have the cashier when you come back. Before we turn, you see a building, a long building, which has a tower and a window. And that is La Sorbonne, the famous university. That's where it is. And if you are now on your left, look at it. Tiny, tiny little street. On your left, and it's called the Street of the Fishing Gap. And the next one, as you can see, is also pretty small. Look at it. There we are. So this gives you an idea of how Paris was during medieval times. It was the city was very narrow street, dark street, not always very safe. And they did not have it. And that building was built by Legault, who was a Cardinal Mazzarino. And that's where we have the French Academy, with 40 academicians who meet once a month, usually, to talk about the French language. Institut de France. And if you look at the right, you can see the on your right. That part was built in the 16th and 17th century. And inside there's a yard, it used to be. It was pulled down in the 16th century. And then they built the Louvre on this side along the river, arranged for him to live in an apartment rather than a house. And you see the restaurant at the corner, the green satirical writer from Renoir, Monet, Manet, all these artists are exhibited now. And by André Lenôtre, L-E-N-O-T-R-E. André Lenôtre is the landscape designer who also made the gardens of Versailles. So look at the other side, you can see
National
exactly the same
Assembly.
as the La Concorde and the obelisk in the center, which was a present from Egypt to France. First bridge in Paris built with only one span. That is Alexander III Bridge. It was finished for the World's Fair of 1900, same as the two buildings on the very end of the bridge on your right. The Little Palace, Museum of Fine Art, and the Grand Palace with the glass roof, which is actually used for temporary exhibition. So everything on your right comes from the name of the Russian Tsar who visited Paris while the bridge was being built. So when the bridge was finished, because we agreed away, and the relationships which had been closed for 20 years were reopened again with the Russian. So that's why they decided to name that bridge after the Tsar. And by the way, this is the first bridge in Paris built with a single span. And you see, that could be probably was turned into the burial place of the great soldiers. And the soldiers' church remained as such in the back. So in between, you have a church that you can't see very well, but is there, 330 feet, 107 meters. So it's beautiful spire, you see the building. It was completed in 1989 for the Senate. Nothing compared to the several thousands they had before the revolution. But it has always been a very important institution. So this is only for crippled, disabled soldiers. It's actually the oldest one. That's where you had the gardens, and you still do have gardens. And you will see, in those days, though, when the king, when Louis XIV had those gardens designed, that's where he was beheaded on the 21st of January, 1793. So Vincenzo is very nice. He's taking us around the square so that you can take a picture of the Arc de Triomphe. So as we turn around, you will be able to see it. Remember, across the river is the National Assembly. In front of us, the Tuileries Gardens, and Marie Antoinette was beheaded on the 16th of October on the right-hand side, where you see the gates of the Tuileries Gardens. That's where she was beheaded. Both her husband and she were beheaded in 1793, but within 10 months difference. And look at the left, you can see now the Arc de Triomphe. We'll see it again as we drive back around the square. On the left, the Dillon with columns, that's the church dedicated to Mary Magdalena, to have taken us around. You see again, here we are.
Matematik Versailles. Lazar Wetzar passed away Karl for a second. Versailles. kadar gelmiyor. Çeşitli gazlar başına
So actually in this region, what they are doing right now as well in one of the little towns in Burgundy, they are actually building a castle just like with the Medes that they built a castle in the 13th century, huh? So they're going to build for 25 years to finish one castle, and of course it's a tourist attraction right now. So the people who are building it, or some of the people who are building it, are actually living in that little town. And so they're trying to show people how they actually build these castles. Huh? So 25 years, you see that it's not easy to actually go and do that. So it takes them a lot.
Fransa'ya Şveysarya Zahman'dan. Şubat kesti bu.
Okay, so apparently they're not very worried today.
Kesti bu. Çözdü getirmiş.
So which is a very good thing because we don't want to lose time.
Ancak Şveysarya.
So here we go, huh? Those 80 tribes and those were the first ones to inhabit Switzerland. So the French came in, so they speak French there, and then the Italians came in, so that's the part where we will be driving through tomorrow. So after we go through that Midgard tunnel. So it used to be the longest one in Europe. It's no longer the longest one because they built another one in Norway. So which is now 24 kilometers. The one we are going to be driving through tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, sorry, on our way to Venice, is 17 kilometers long. So we're going to drive our way to Lucerne, so we're going to be driving through one that's 9 kilometers, 250 meters long. So 17 kilometers is a little over 10 miles. And then 9, well, that's about half. A little over half.
Ağustos'u tavsiye etmişler. Şveysarya'ya inmek. Peki kalan karşılarına son. Bu dedik. Bu var. Arabi.
Adesso che sei in corsa, Giovanni Locano.